Welcome everyone to the College Board released SAT practice test number 8. Today I will walk you through section 3, the no calculator section. In the description I have labeled timestamps for all 20 questions, so please feel free to just jump around, find whatever question you're here for, and without further ado, let's get started. So, number 1, in the equation above, what is the value of x? So we see here we have a lot of x variables on the left hand side, and two constant terms, so we're going to add our like terms. So 3x plus x plus x plus x is 3, 4, 5, 6x. And then minus 3 minus 2, so minus 3 minus 2, that's 6x minus 5 equals 7 plus 2x. And then we're going to subtract 2x from both sides, leaving us with 4x minus 5 equals 7. Add 5 to both sides, 4x equals 12, divide everything by 4, so x equals 3. So 1 is D. Number 2, the graph above shows the distance traveled D in feet by a product on a conveyor belt m minutes after the product is placed on the belt. Which of the following equations correctly relates D and m? So this question is asking us, what is the equation of this line? So we see that it goes through the origin. That means there's no y-intercept, or there's no plus 2, because that means that the line would have started at y of 2. And now it's all just down to figuring out the slope. And so the slope, we can look between any 2 points. For example, the origin and this point right here, 1, 2. If we go up 2 over 1, that is up 2 over 1, so slope is 2. So 2 is A. Number 3, the formula below is often used by project managers to compute E, the estimated time to complete a job, where O is the shortest completion time, P is the longest completion time, and M is the most likely completion time. Which of the following correctly gives P in terms of E, O, and M? So we have to recall that in terms of just means equals. So which equation properly gives P equals? So we see that first thing we can do is multiply both sides of this equation by 6 to get rid of that fraction. So 6e equals O plus 4m plus p. And now it's just a matter of moving everything that's not p over to the left-hand side. So minus O from both sides and minus 4m from both sides. 6e minus O minus 4m equals p. Which one does that show? Number 3 in this case is A. Number 4, in the figure above, RT equals TU, what is the value of X? So, first, I want to try to find angles that I know. And so because RT equals TU, the side length, the triangle RTU, I know this triangle right here is isosceles. So if I do 180 minus the 114, that is right here, that gives me 66. I know that if I divide this by 2, I get 33. That's what both of these angles are down here. 33 degrees here, and 33 degrees here. But I need to find what x degree is. I also know I can find what angle STR is right here, because it's supplementary with angle 114 degrees. So again, 180 minus 114 gives me that 66. So angle right here is 66 degrees. I can find this angle right here by doing 31 plus 66, 97. Subtract that from 180, and I get 83. And then so now I have this smaller triangle down here, blown up a little bit, is 33 degrees on this angle, 83 degrees in this angle. Now it's just down to finding this angle right here. So add them up and then subtract it from 180. That is 180 minus 116, giving us 64. Number 5, the width of a rectangular dance floor is W feet. The length of the floor is 6 feet longer than its width. which of the following expresses the perimeter in feet of the dance floor in terms of W? So we can draw out this rectangular dance floor. We have our widths, and we have our lengths. But our lengths equal the width plus 6 feet, because the length is 6 feet longer than the width. So our perimeter equation is just adding up all four sides. So it's W plus W plus W plus 6 plus W plus 6, which is 4W plus 12, or B. Number 6, which of the following consists of the y-coordinates of all the points that satisfy the system of inequalities above? So I'm going to try to solve for one variable, and I can because of this second inequality. Solving for x, if you divide both sides by 2, you get x is greater than 5 over 2. I can then plug this in to my first equation, or my first inequality, and solve for all the y values. So y is greater than 2 times 5 over 2 minus 1. 2 times 5 is 10, divided by 2 is 5, so y is greater than 5 minus 1. Or we can just cancel out these 2's like this. So y is greater than 4, or 6 is B. Number 7, what is the solution set of the equation above? So I'm going to write out what I'm given, square root of 2x plus 6 plus 4 equals x plus 3. I'm going to isolate my square root, so I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides, leaving me with square root of 2x plus 6 equals x minus 1. To undo square roots, you have to square, so I'm going to square both sides. 2x plus 6 equals, and I'm going to FOIL this out, so it's x minus 1 times x minus 1, or FOIL is x squared minus 2x plus 1, because we did the first two terms, the inner two terms, the outer two terms, and the last two terms. Now I'm going to move everything to one side, so I can subtract 2x and it's 6 from both sides, so x squared minus 4x minus 5. And then this factors to give me x minus 5 times x plus 1, because negative 5 times positive 1 equals negative 5, and negative 5 plus 1 is negative 4. So that's why that factor works. And then I can solve, so x minus 5 equals 0, x plus 1 equals 0, so x equals 5 and x equals negative 1. So you would think you jump to C. Well, D is not right because 0 is not an answer. So you think to jump to C, but we have to actually plug in our two answers just to make sure that they're actually correct. So plugging in 5, just give me a little bit of room here. Plugging in 5, we get square root of 2 times 5 plus 6 plus 4 equals 5 plus 3. 2 times 5 is 10 plus 6 is 16. Square root of 16 is 4 plus 4 equals 5 plus 3. So it can't be A. So we know that 5 works, but does negative 1 work? Well, plugging in negative 1, we get square root of 2 times negative 1 plus 6 plus 4 equals negative 1 plus 3. So this is negative 2 plus 6 is 4, square root of 4 is 2, plus 4 does not equal negative 1 plus 3. 6 does not equal 2, so 7 is B. Number 8, which of the following expressions is equivalent to f of x divided by g of x for x is greater than 3? So we're going to do what they say, divide them. So x cubed minus 9x divided by squared minus 2x minus 3. We can factor the bottom. Actually, we can factor the top and bottom. We can pull an x out from the top, leaving us with x times x squared minus 9 divided by, and then we can factor out this denominator to get x minus 3 times x plus 1. And now we can also further factor out the top because x squared minus 9 is a difference of squares. So we follow our pattern of square root of both terms, so we do x plus 3 times x minus 3. We have the square root of both terms, and then we just do plus and minus. Divided by x minus 3 times x plus 1. The x minus 3's cancel out, leaving us with x times x plus 3 over x plus 1. That is D. Number 9. In the xy plane, the graph of the equation above is a circle. Point P is on the circle and has coordinates 10, negative 5. If PQ is a diameter of the circle, what are the coordinates of point Q? So we can draw our circle. And then two things we know just from the equation of the circle up here is the center and the radius. So we see that it equals 16. So if you do the square root of 16, that's 4. So 4 is our radius. And our center is simply solving these binomials for 0. So since it's x minus 6, that's x minus 6 equals 0, which is just x equals 6. And then y plus 5 equals 0, so y equals negative 5. So our center is at 6, negative 5. So our center here is 6, negative 5. Now it says point P is at 10, negative 5. And so 10 is just 4 points to the right on the x-axis. So we can jump over 4 points here and have 10, negative 5. Now it wants point Q. And it says line PQ is a diameter, meaning it's a line that goes straight across the entire circle. So if we went positive 4 in the right direction, we have to go negative 4 in the left direction. And so if we subtract 4 from 6, we get 2. So 2, negative 5 is where Q is. Number 10, a group of 202 people went on an overnight camping trip, taking 60 tents with them. Some of the tents held 2 people each, and the rest held 4 people each. Assuming that all tents were filled to capacity and every person got to sleep in a tent, exactly how many of the tents were 2-person tents? So let's say that all of the 2-person tents are X, and all of the all of the 4-person tents are Y. That means combining both those tents, we get 60 tents, as they said, in total. And then 2 people per 2-person tent, and 4 people per 4-person tent equals a total of 202 people. So we can always construct a system of equations that follow that similar pattern. Add the number of objects and then people, for example, as our 2 equations. And now I want to isolate y so that I can solve for x, the number of 2-person tents. So minus x from both sides of this first equation. Y equals 60 minus x. Now I can substitute this in for my second equation, so 2x plus 4 times 60 minus x equals 202. 2x plus 240 minus 4x equals 202. That means that negative 2x plus 240 equals positive 202. Subtract 240 from both sides. That leaves me with negative 2x equals a negative 38. Dividing both sides by negative 2, we get x equals 19. And so number 10 is C. Number 11, which of the following could be the equation of the graph above? So we look for all of our intersection points. We have negative 3, 0, and 2. And so we have to then flip the signs because we're going back. We're going from, for example, x equals 2 to x minus 2 as a factor. So it can't be C and D because we need x minus 2 and x plus 3. And whenever you have an intersection at the origin, for example, like this, it's just x on the outside, like here. So the A and B differ because there's an x and an x squared. So you're going to see squared when you see what's called a bounce point. So you see how, for example, with this negative 3, the line went straight through. But for here, it hit the x-axis and then went back down. That's a bounce point. So bounce points are always denoted by the factor squared. So 11 is B. Number 12, if 2a over b equals 1/2, what is the value of b over a? So we have 2a over b equals 1/2. We can flip both sides to get the reciprocal, leaving us with b over 2a equals 2 over 1. And then to get b over a, multiply both sides by 2 to get rid of this 2 in the fraction denominator down here, times 2 of both sides. B over a equals 4 over 1, or 4. Number 13, oil and gas production in a certain area dropped from 4 million barrels in 2000 to 1.9 million barrels in 2013. Assuming that the oil and gas production decreased at a constant rate, which of the following linear functions f best models the production in millions of barrels t years after the year 2000? So what's important here is the word decrease. This is going to be a negative function, so it can't be a or b right off the bat. And now we need to figure out our slope. So it's going to be the change in y over the change in x. So for example, our x has to be years, because it's what affects number of barrels. So we have the change in number of barrels, so from 4 million to 1.9 million, that's negative 2.1 million. And I'm just leaving it as negative 2.1 because the function said best models f in millions of barrels, so we don't have to put millions, we just put the number. And then, how many years went by? Well, 13 years went by. And so automatically this looks like choice C, but why is it 21 over 130? Because the choice C changed the decimal location. So if you move the decimal place on both numbers over to the right once, you get negative 21 over 130. So 13 is C. Number 14, how many solutions are there to the system of equations above? So I'm going to write out what I've given, y equals x squared plus 3x minus 7, and then I'm going to make both of these equal to y. So for the second equation, I'm going to add 5x to both sides and subtract 8. So I get y equals positive 5x minus 8, then set both these equal to each other because they're both equal to y. X squared plus 3x minus 7 equals 5x minus 8. So now that we're here, I'm going to move everything over to one side. Subtract 5x, add 8. So that x squared minus 2x plus 1. If I factor this, I get x minus 1 times x minus 1, which is the same solution, so it's exactly one solution. Number 15, the functions g and h are defined above. What is the value of h of 0? So we plug in 0 into our h function. The h of 0 equals 1 minus g of 0. And what's g of 0? Well, g of 0 equals 2 times 0 minus 1, which is 0 minus 1, or negative 1. So 1 minus negative 1, remember, if it's minus a negative, we add, so it's 2. It's 1 plus 1. Number 16, if a is a solution of the equation above and a is greater than 0, what is the value of a? So I can factor. So I have factors of 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 12. Factors of 12 that multiply to get negative 12 and add up to get 1, because that's what's in front of the x term. So then I'm going to figure out, okay, what factors multiply to get negative 12, add to get 1, and that's 4 and negative 3. So x plus 4 times x minus 3, and then we have to set both these equal to 0 and solve. So when it's just x, that just flips the sign. So x equals negative 4. X equals 4, and a negative 4, and a positive 3. Since a is greater than 0, we know our answer is 3. Number 17, the sum of negative 2x squared plus x plus 31 and 3x squared plus 7x minus 8 can be written in the form ax squared plus bx plus c, where a, b, and c are constants. What's the value of a plus b plus c? So it's just adding up these two equations and then combining all of the coefficients. So we can just line them up like we're going to add any two ordinary numbers. Add, we get x squared. plus 8x, that's plus 23. Add up the 1 that's in front of the x squared, the 8 in front of the x, and the 23, leaving us with 32. Number 18, if x, y satisfies the system of equations above, what is the value of y? So we see here that we have an x and a negative x, so we can just add both the equations and the x's will cancel, leaving us with y. So for y equals a 6, divide everything by 4, that's y equals 6 over 4, or simplified, dividing both by 2, top and bottom by 2, we get 3 over 2. So 3/2. Number 19, a startup company opened with 8 employees. The company's growth plan assumes that 2 new employees will be hired each quarter every 3 months for the first 5 years. If an equation is written in the form y equals ax plus b to represent the number of employees y employed by the company x quarters after the company starts opened, what is the value of b? So b is always, in any equation, the initial condition. So we have initial condition. So it's what you started with. And this company opened with 8 new employees. So our equation is y equals 2x, because 2 employees, 2 new employees every single quarter, plus the 8 original. So b is 8. Finally, number 20. In the circle above, point A is the center, and the length of arc BC is 2/5 of the circumference of the circle. What is the value of x? So if our angle comes from the center, like angle BAC does, or x is, if the arc length is a fraction of the circumference, then the angle is the same fraction of the total degree measure. So the circle has 360 degrees. Since this arc created by this angle is 2/5 of the circumference, then this angle is 2/5 of 360. So 360 times 2 divided by 5 is 720 divided by 5, or 144 degrees. So thank you all so much for watching. If you liked the video, please leave a like. If you really enjoyed the content, then please subscribe. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, just leave a comment. I'll try to answer every comment that I see. I'm thinking about starting a YouTube Shorts channel to help invite people more to my main content on this channel. And so I'll be thinking about making those in the coming weeks. Thank you so much for watching once again, and just keep on practicing, keep on studying. I know you guys will do great. Thank you so much.